Is this the end for Canadian bank stocks? Well, bank earnings are coming out over the next few days. Today, we're going to talk about what could go wrong. In today's video, we're going to discuss why Canadian bank stocks are so important to Canadian investors. We're also going to talk about seasonality, the technical profile of Canadian banks, and finally, earnings. Let's get at it. Let's start off with the seasonal tendencies of Canadian bank stocks. This chart is brought to us courtesy of Equity Clock, and I want to point out that between October and the end of the year, we tend to get a very strong period of outperformance from a seasonal perspective versus the rest of the year. In fact, it's kind of business as usual for the Canadian bank stocks for most of the year, except for this exceptionally strong performing period between October and December. Investors who are inclined to take profits on these stocks are typically wise to start looking at them right around the end of December before they enter into their more benign level of performance. Now let's take a look at the technicals for the Canadian bank stock sector. And I'm looking at the Bank of Montreal equal weighted bank ETF. Ticker is ZEB on Toronto. And as you can see that since the beginning of 2022, the banking sector was stuck in a very flat trading range. It broke out in the second half of the year and right on schedule per the seasonal pattern that we just finished talking about. We've seen strong outperformance. Now, what's interesting here is that if we look at some of the momentum indicators that I've talked about in previous programs, you'll note that money flow, which has been very strong into the sector, is overbought. You'll also see that MACD is definitely showing very strong performance for the sector, but again, it's pretty high up there. And you can see in the past, such as here in 2021, when money flow and MACD was high, it eventually led into a market peak. Finally, I want to bring us down to RSI. Final momentum indicator we'll look at is the RSI. And you can see, once again, it's very, very overbought. All of these momentum indicators tell us when the crowd is too enthusiastic about a stock or a sector. And in the Canadian bank stock sector, there's no doubt about it, there's been a lot of enthusiasm, perhaps too much. In technical analysis, we sometimes call that a crowded trade. I promised at the beginning of this video why you need to act now. The problem with overbought stocks is that when earnings come out, if in any way those earnings disappoint, the stock can decline rapidly from that overbought level. So if you own any of these stocks, you're going to see earnings reports coming out over the next 3 days. For example, National Bank and Royal Bank are both reporting December 4th. Following that, Bank of Montreal, CIBC, and TD are reporting on December 5th. And finally, we're seeing Laurentian Bank and Canadian Western Bank report on the 6th. You want to make sure that those reports are at least in line with analyst expectations. Let me show you next what happens when an earnings report fails to meet investors' expectations. On my blog on November 26th, I warned readers that the banks were overbought. And in fact, some of them were reaching technical resistance. We held Bank of Nova Scotia at that time. And as you can see, the stock was playing with its old highs from way back in 2022. We felt that the only way this stock, after being so overbought, would get through its 2022 highs is if it came out with an outstanding earnings report. So we sold it. We sold our entire position. And here we are today. We can see on the candle chart that Bank of Nova Scotia has declined from a high of approximately 80 to already down to around $76 at the time of recording this video. So to finish up, if you own Canadian bank stocks from the list I just showed you a few minutes ago, who are reporting in the next few days, you better keep a keen eye on those stocks, because if they report in any way disappointing results, you're going to see a rapid and strong sell-off. These stocks are overbought and they're at the end of their seasonal strength period. I don't endorse trading rapidly, but I do endorse taking profits when there's an obvious reason to take profits. I'm very wary of the coming bank earnings season, and I've already sold one of our positions. We only have one small position left at Value Trend in the banks, and we're looking to sell that very soon too. Thanks for watching this video. And remember, I recommend subscribing to the blog so you get early warnings like my blog readers got on the banks back at the end of November. It's valuetrend.ca, and you can click to subscribe and get the blog delivered to your mailbox every day.